Hey, modern math teacher, Kristen here, and today we're tackling one of the most awkward parts about teaching. It's that moment when you ask a great question and you get nothing but crickets. Have you been there? Same friend. Okay. So, in this episode of the Modern Math Teacher podcast, we are talking about active teaching strategies that actually get our students talking. No cold calling or awkward silences required. Okay. We're going to talk about my favorite cooperative strategies, student talk routines, and sneaky little moves that get even your quietest kids contributing. Are you up for it? Let's go, you guys. All right, here's the thing. Passive teaching doesn't work, okay? Let's get real. Traditional math instruction is often super passive, okay? We model, they copy. We model, they mimic. We ask a question, we get blank stares. And we wonder why they're disengaged? Of course they are. We need active teaching to get active learning happening in our classroom, okay? Active teaching strategies completely flip this on its head. They shift the cognitive load onto students in the best way, giving them voice, agency, and something that they can actually chew on and do and think about, okay? It's not just about having our kids do stuff. We can all have them do stuff. That's not what we're talking about. It's about giving them something meaningful to talk about and the structure to talk about it well. If you caught last week's episode, we talked all about structures and routines that you need for a student-centered classroom, and we started talking about discussions then. We're going to wrap that conversation today, right? So if you've been building towards, a building thinking classroom or just a more active learning zone, this is a core component to that, okay? Your students doing the thinking and the talking. They're not just sitting back and watching the show, okay? So here are 3 talk strategies that actually work in the classroom, okay? My 3 go-to strategies for sparking meaningful conversations in math class. Number 1, let's talk about the beauty behind a notice and wonder, okay? But add a little something into it, because we can't just say oh, it's a notice and wonder, okay? So instead of just a generic image, right? Show a graph. Show something that is trending on Google search, right? Show a visual pattern or even a student's work in progress. But of course, get their permission first, right? Ask your students, what do you notice about this? What do you wonder about? And what would you try next? See, that question at the end, that gets them thinking about okay, well, if I were looking at this data, what could I do with it? What questions would I ask? What do I notice this is happening? It looks like it's kind of trending positively, or maybe they're up, right? And so they start thinking well, what could I do next with this? Okay. That's going to build comfort, and it lowers the floor for all of our learners. Something that is key here, right? We want low floor, high ceiling to get that active engagement going. Okay. Number 2, I want you to think about using structured partner talk, using sentence stems and discussion starters. There we go, you guys. Using things my partner thinks this, but I think this because of whatever the reason is. Or my partner and I, we noticed blank and we decided to blank again, right? So they're going to be filling in those blanks. Giving them those sentence starters gives them a way to start that conversation and to know how to frame up the thoughts that are going in their mind, okay? And you can incorporate this with cooperative teaching strategies, like assigning roles. Love this idea. I talked a little bit about group roles in our last episode. So thinking about, putting them in as the speaker, the listener, the summarizer, okay? And as a bonus, you could do a think, pair, compare instead of a think, pair, share to get deeper synthesis across groups. So think, pair, and then compare, right? So your 2 thought partners are sitting next to each other. They've each thought, they've paired, they've got their idea. They know what sentence starters to talk about. We noticed this. We decided to do this. And then they come compare it to another partner group across the table from them or on the other side of the room. It's a really great way to get kind of that deeper synthesis going, because then it's not just 2 ideas that they're comparing. They're thinking about 4 and the voices and the strategies that they hear from others. Okay. Also, number 3, I love a random group, a random share. Okay, so you can pull a name, you can pull a table number, or you can call a group color to report out. In my classroom, I have my table group set up in teams, and there is at each team, so I've got teams 1 through 8 in my classroom that has seats for 32 students right now, and I can bump it up to my full 35 by adding an extra chair to a couple of the tables, right? So they're in their teams, but then within their teams, each half of the team has a color. So you could be gold team 1 or green team 1. And so I can call out, I'm going to have all of the green members on the left, okay? I'm going to have team 3 gold 1. They're going to talk to me about something. This is going to raise the bar for everyone because anyone could be called on, so they all engage. Think of it kind of like, like popsicle sticks, right? You would cold call on a single person, but this time, instead of just pulling a name, you could call a whole table number, and they could have somebody who has to share out there. You could call a group color. I'm going to wait and hear from 3 green teams in my classroom what they said. Then I'm going to have 2 gold teams revoice what they heard. So now everybody is actively listening. They might be called on, so they all engage, okay? Also, bonus if you want to put them up and have them share their ideas at whiteboards or vertical spaces, thinking classrooms, they can pop up, share it out. That is also always fun as well. Okay, so here's the thing. With these active teaching strategies, there are still some things that you are going to want to avoid. Okay, so here are things that don't work. Calling on the same kids every time, even if they're volunteering their answer. It doesn't work. Okay. Asking the any questions or does that make sense, and expecting honest responses for students, because if you ask, does anybody have any questions, most of the time they're going to not say anything, right? Instead, what I like to do is I like to say, let's see with your thumbs how you're feeling. Awesome, okay, or awful. And then everybody can silently at their table show me with their thumb where they're at. And if I'm seeing mostly okay to awesomes, I know we're ready to go, and I can just pop in and check in with those okay kids. If I'm seeing okay to awful, I know that I need to re-engage. We need to try a new strategy to get where we're going. You see what I'm saying, friends, right? That's better than, are there any questions? Does that make sense? Because they're sitting there quietly, and even if it doesn't make sense to them, they're not telling you that. Using an awesome, okay, awful with your thumb helps you figure out where students are at, because they're more likely to be honest with that when they can just do their thumb right here. And if you're not watching me on YouTube, I'm doing a bunch of the thumb movements here, okay? So calling on the same kid every time doesn't work. Asking any questions, does that make sense? Zero engagement strategy way. And using discussion as a filler instead of a strategy. Don't just make your kids talk to talk. Use it strategically to build on that student thinking, okay? Real talk, you guys. Meaningful discussions, they take practice, okay? And your students are going to need time and modeling to get good at this, and that's okay. Teach it like you teach math. Actively involve your students. Actively model it, actively engage them in it a little bit every single day. And friends, it's September, so what better time to start than right now? By the end of October, your students are going to be having rich, meaningful discussions that you can then carry with you all the way through the craziness of the holiday seasons and into second semester, okay? So make sure that you start implementing these discussion strategies and active learning strategies right away. All right, you guys, here is your homework for the week. I want you to pick one of these strategies and try it out. Just one. You never have to try them all. Okay. Maybe it's a notice and wonder opener. Maybe it's a new talk routine. Maybe it's group roles, right? Then I want you to observe what happened in your classroom. What changed? What worked? What was unexpected? What didn't work, maybe? What might you need to tweak moving forward? And hey, you guys, don't forget, if you want even more active teaching strategies, come join us inside the Modern Math Teacher Movement on Facebook. We're sharing ideas, wins, and resources every week. You've got it, you guys. Until next time, keep the active learning, keep the students discussing, and as always, keep it real.